You know, with all that's going on in our world today, it's difficult to imagine that a few months ago, life was relatively carefree. Looking back, my normal life seems like it was just a dream. I'm sure you've had the same kind of feeling. In my case, I can't believe that just last month, after I finished teaching a missions course at Kiev Theological Seminary, I led a missions awareness conference in eastern Ukraine. By the way, thank you for praying for me about that conference. To be honest, I had some concerns before I went. Well, for example, I was wondering, would these young believers attend the conference because they wanted to learn about missions, or would they just come for the food and fellowship? I also wondered, have any of the Ukrainians in this area ever served abroad? So they could set an example, a good example for the attendees. I also was concerned that their parents and church leaders might encourage them to volunteer as missionaries and not try to discourage them like some parents and missionaries have in the past. Most importantly, I was concerned that these young people would respond to the call to serve the Lord as missionaries. Well, why don't I answer these concerns right now? We held the conference in Zaporizhia in eastern Ukraine. The city was founded in 1770 and is famous for its hydroelectric dam. It's huge, built in 1932, and for the only factory in the former Soviet Union that made jet airplane engines. But that's a secret. Our team of speakers included myself, Roma Dichuk, who partnered with me before, and Artur Nedjeyev, who had just arrived from China. We met in a seminary building in an older part of town and stayed in its dormitory. About 80 people attended, young people mostly, along with half a dozen pastors and some of the parents. Now, let me comment on my 4 concerns. To answer the first concern, the young people were definitely alert and sincerely interested in missions, although they did enjoy the food and fellowship too. In answer to my second concern, I was pleased by my team's biblical and inspiring presentations, but I praise the Lord that a local group gave their missions testimony. 4 of their own people had just returned from a short-term mission trip to the country of Georgia. They shared the love of Jesus with some neglected teens over there. And they also demonstrated that the Lord can use Ukrainians, not just Americans, to spread the gospel. I was pleased. To answer the third concern, I wasn't really sure the pastors were listening until the last session when our panel of speakers answered the questions from the audience. One pastor stood up and asked, "How can I learn more about financially supporting missionaries for my church?" Wow, that was a direct answer to prayer. I spoke to some other pastors privately and learned that they too were interested in missions. Regarding my fourth concern, not only were the young people singing and praising and listening intently to the speakers, they prayed together long and fervently for the spreading the gospel and for the needs of missionaries. The Lord spoke to these young people. They took responsibility for sending missionaries abroad, and some committed to go as missionaries themselves. You know, this world crisis is temporary, and these committed young people will soon be sent out by their churches to go spread the gospel where it has not been heard before. It was definitely worth the trip. I am so glad I went, and Lord willing, I will continue to lead missions awareness conferences in Eastern Europe. So please pray for our next conference. We haven't been able to set a date yet, but thank you so much. Bye for now.